Hey folks, Brian Blessing in Las Vegas. Glad to be with you here at bangthebook.com. Don't forget our good pal Adam Burke and the Sports Betting Podcast. He has you covered, and believe me, through the summer months with baseball and special events. But football's coming, it's coming fast, and we'll be diving back in on that podcast. Right now we're talking Stanley Cup futures, and this is post-free agency. There'll still be some hockey deals that will kick in. But for the most part, we got a pretty good idea where the big free agents have gone and what the numbers have done on the board, and there have been a handful of movers. It's an Eastern Conference preview for you here, and we're talking about in the East, the Tampa Bay Lightning, record-setting numbers last year, failed miserably in the playoffs. Basically, the team, in essence, it remains the same. They're going to have to figure out a deal for Braden Point, but this is a team that's loaded, and it's going to be more about load management, not letting Vasilevsky play all those games. So they addressed the backup goalie situation a little bit, but they're a deserving 7-2 favorite to win the Eastern Conference, and they've gone up actually from 6-1 to 7-1 to win the Stanley Cup. Boston Bruins, they're on the board at 10-1 to win the Cup. Co-second choice in the East with Toronto at 5-1. Boston didn't do very much at all. Lost some role players, but this is a team organizationally. They're sound. They get good goaltending. They'll be in there in the playoffs again next year and see if they can make another run. Now, Toronto, there's a lot going on here. What's going to happen with the Mitch Marner situation? But at least to Dubas' credit, they finally addressed the defense a little bit. They moved Nazem Kadri over to Colorado. They get Tyson Barrie back, solid defenseman, cut a deal with Ottawa, and Cody Ceci comes in. So Toronto, they still have cap issues. The Marner thing is something to watch, but at least on paper, the Leafs are better defensively. Then at 10-1 in the East, both Washington and Pittsburgh Penguins, they lose Phil Kessel, but you've got Sidney Crosby, and the Caps, they've got Ovechkin. So those are teams that absolutely are in the discussion, get in the playoffs where anything can happen. Now, the Islanders at 15-1 did not re-sign Robin Lehner. Instead, they go for Varlamov, give him 4 years and $5 million per $20 million contract. They retain Anders Lee at a friendly deal, $7 million a year. But again, the Islanders, this is still a team well coached, but offensively challenged. Carolina Hurricanes, 15-1 down to 12-1. The offer sheet to Aho, Hurricanes say they're matching that. The question is, does Justin Williams come back? And this is a team. Was that a flash in the pan? With all the post-game celebrations, can they sustain it? Now the weight of expectations. The Blue Jackets on the board at 16-1. How? I don't get it. Everybody basically bolted with Panarin, out the door. And then, of course, the goalie, Bobrovsky's gone to the Panthers. We'll talk about that in just a second. Zingle, Duchesne. Boy, they went for it, and it didn't work out. Florida Panthers are on the board. They're down to 10-1, from 12-1 to 10-1. They get Bobrovsky, and they got good guys up front. It's a solid team heading in the right direction. They overpaid mightily for Bobrovsky, giving him $10 million a year. I think they were negotiating against themselves with no state tax, but they got a goalie. They did not get Panarin. The Rangers got Panarin from 40 down to 30-1 to win the East. And listen, all of a sudden, the Rangers get Trouba, they get Panarin, and then you get the Capo Kakko, the number 2 pick of the draft from Finland. A lot of good things happened for the Rangers in the offseason. Montreal is heading in the right direction, but they weren't able to accomplish too much via free agency. The Sabres, some role players on the board, 30-1 to win the East. They've got the good young core. Will they get the goaltending? I do think a trade's forthcoming here with Ristolainen getting moved. And a move from Colin Miller going to Buffalo, right shot D, opens the way for them to trade Ristolainen. Every year, a team surprises, makes the playoffs, and that's the hope in Buffalo. The Devils from 40-1, down to 25-1. They get the first pick of the draft. They get Jack Hughes, and the bottom line is if they can keep Taylor Hall happy, they do have some weapons there. Goaltending's a real quandary for me. And then long shots, monster shots, Red Wings 40-1 and the Ottawa Senators at 150-1. Yzerman with the rebuild in Detroit, and a lot of work to be done in Ottawa. But clearly, the same contenders at the top in the East. Some of these teams got better. The Rangers were the big mover, getting Panarin and Trouba So they're going to be interesting to watch. But in the hot summer months here in Las Vegas, talking about Stanley Cup futures and a look at the Eastern Conference here at bangthebook.com.